chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerned. You hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. Good evening. Good evening, Cayman Islands. Yes, and our Sabrina Speaks family from around the world. Yeah, I must say that because I got a few messages last night and even into tomorrow applauding for that that topic last night or yesterday. And yeah, we're going to continue that because we love the feedback that we get from you. We love our callers and our commenters. But yeah, they want to know more. People are hungry. And thank you for letting me know again that you're there, you're locked in, you're tuned in. It really is inspirational and motivating for me. But again, it's Tuesday. We got our show lined up, even though these stuff comes out of, and many times, I wouldn't say nowhere, but we have to have our finger on the pulse and see what's happening around the world. But yes, you know what? It's another episode of Sabrina Speaks right here. Voices of the Islands, conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I am Sabrina. I'm your host. We're broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands. And tonight, yes, tonight, we're having a different kind of conversation. But we're going to get back to that when I make you a promise. One that's rooted in clarity, honesty, and respect for the people of this country. Now, for years, we have talked about politics through personalities, through parties, and even going down deeper and digging deep into promises. But tonight, my aim is to step it back from all of that just a tad bit. And I want to be talking about the system, the engine that runs our government, the machinery that shapes our daily lives, and the structure that determines whether leaders succeed or fail. Nothing I share tonight is about attacking individuals. It's about educating a nation. It's about understanding how power actually works. It's about giving you, the people, the knowledge that you so deserve. Because when you don't understand the system, we blame the wrong people. We expect miracles from leaders who are working inside a machinery that hasn't been even updated for a more modern world. And we're seeing that every day. We even get frustrated, we get divided. And then that ends up leaving us losing trust, not because we're wrong, but because we're just under and uninformed. And that's not our fault. That's not your fault. Nobody teaches this. Nobody explains this. Nobody breaks it down in plain language. But let me tell you this. We can't fix what we don't understand. We cannot even demand accountability from a system we cannot even see. And we definitely cannot build a stronger future if we keep repeating the same cycle of confusion, disappointment, and definitely blame. Now, Before I dive deeper, I want to share what inspired today's episode, because this conversation didn't appear out of thin air. Oh, no, it didn't. It came from watching what's happening in the United Kingdom, the very country whose governance model we have to go by, that we inherited, whose constitutional framework, by the way, we follow, and whose system we mirror as a British overseas territory. Now, we see recently, and making headlines, that the United Kingdom has experienced something unprecedented in modern democratic history. 7 prime ministers in 7 years, constant leadership turnover, and internal party fractures, policy instability, and a government machine struggling that we're seeing to keep pace with the modern pressures. And we're seeing commenters in the United Kingdom informing former MPs are now openly saying the instability is structural and systemic, not personal, not partisan, not about one leader specifically, but about the engine of government itself. And Cayman, we need to pay attention to that. Not because we are the United Kingdom, not because our politics are the same, but because our very system is built on the same foundation. The same Westminster model, the same two-arm structure, the same civil service-led operational machinery, the same constitutional DNA, the same vulnerabilities. Yes, we are a British overseas territory, and that means our government operations follows the same architecture. So when the United Kingdom's engine starts to misfire, we would be unwise to assume that we are immune. And the truth is here, I'm going to be honest with you, we're already seeing early signs of some of the same patterns. They may be quiet, but undeniably, yes, not headlines, but we've seen delays, we've seen bottlenecks. We've also hearing public frustration, policy slowdowns, rising expectations, pressures on elected leaders, pressures even on civil servants. A system struggling to keep pace with modern demands. And these are the same indicators, my friends, that the United Kingdom experienced long before leadership collapse begun. So, yes, other countries are seeing this as well, because similar governance models are seeing some of the same fractures. So tonight's episode is not about fear. It's about foresight. It's about learning how, or seeing from the mother country's experience before we end up falling in the same shadows. It's also about understanding the system that we can strengthen it. Cayman, we don't have to wait for a crisis to start asking the questions. We don't even have to wait for instability to start educating ourselves. We don't even have to wait for the collapse to start fixing the engine. And that's what has inspired today's episode of Sabrina Speaks. Yes. So tonight we're lifting the curtain, not to create fear, not to create division, but to create an understanding. Because I feel when the people understand the engine, you, the people, can finally take the wheel. So yes, some of you may love the conversation, some of you may not, and that's all right, because growth is never comfortable. Truth is never easy, but doing the right thing has never required permission, only courage. And I'm stepping into that field this evening. Please remember that the views expressed by callers, guests, and online commenters are their own and not those of Bridge Media Limited, its affiliates, the Sabrina Speaks Show, or the host. Now, this program is for general information only and not a substitute for legal, medical, financial, or professional advice. All participants are reminded to speak responsibly and respectfully. Any content that is defamatory, discriminatory, unlawful, or harmful is strictly prohibited and will not be endorsed or tolerated. Listener participation, of course, implies acceptance of this disclaimer. 345 936-8255 is the number to call to join in on the conversation. You can feel free to send me a WhatsApp on that line. I only ask that you be respectful and please keep it on topic. Make sure that you like, follow, and share the page with your friends and family so that you'll never, ever miss an episode and you'll always be notified. Yeah, so let's go. That was along to set the stage to let you know what we're talking about, because I know some of you were a little confused. But yeah, I felt that it ties in and it'll make sense. I'm going to need your undivided attention this evening right here on Sabrina Speaks. As we do it, let's take a look at what's happening and what's in the forecast for tonight and into tomorrow. Compliments of our friends there at the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. The synopsis is calling for a ridge of high pressure is to dominate a feature across the Northwest Caribbean. Expect gentle winds and moderate seas with a low chance of a few showers. The forecast for tonight is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of early morning showers. Now, temperatures will fall to the low 80s. Winds will be east to northeast 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. The forecast for tomorrow is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, mainly during the night. Temperatures will rise to the low 90 degrees Fahrenheit with a heat index of near 104. Winds will be east to northeast 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, mainly during the night, and temperatures will rise to the low 90s. There will be a high tide at 6:52 this evening. There will be a low tide at 1 o'clock a.m. tomorrow, and another high tide at 6:05. The sun will set this evening at 7:05 p.m. and sun will rise at 5:50 tomorrow morning. Now, the outlook is calling for an increased chance of showers and possible thunder from Thursday as another tropical waves move over the Western Caribbean. And with that, slight haze intrusion is also in the forecast to thicken by Friday. So all of my allergy sufferers out there, you're in for a bumpy ride in the next couple of days. So please do what you got to do to take all precautions necessary during this time. Welcome, welcome, one and all. I see you all taking your time to come in. It's good to have you join me here on this Tuesday's episode of Sabrina Speaks. Let's take a look at what's making news for this evening, starting with our local news. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service is reporting a rise in stolen vehicles across, with 8 cases reported and received during the week ending June 19th. Now, most incidents occurred in Georgetown and Boddentown, with West Bay also being affected, and many took place in the early morning hours. Now, several vehicles were believed to be properly secured, yet suspects still gained access. The majority of reports involved older Honda models, though other makes were also targeted. Now, 2 vehicles have been recovered while others remain outstanding. Police are urging the public, however, to secure their vehicles, park in well-lit areas, and consider added precautions such as wheel locks and CCTVs. Anyone with information is asked to call 911 or to submit anonymous tips through the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service or Cayman Crime Stoppers. Caymanian swimmer Jordan Crooks is officially back to the competitive training with the government and the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture, and Heritage, confirming his return to the international stage. Now, Crooks stepped away to complete his studies and map out his long-term plans, but is now focused on qualifying for the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. Now, he says he's excited to resume professional level competition and continues to represent the Cayman Islands with pride as he begins this new chapter in his career. Other news making local headlines this evening: the Minister of Education, Ralston Anglin, joined by Deputy Director Elroy Brian Watler, visited Owen Roberts International Airport yesterday to send off several groups of students heading overseas for major end-of-year trips. Now, traveling groups, including the Joanna Clark Primary School class of 2026, on their year 6 trip to Panama, the Cayman Youth Choir en route to Italy for the International Choir Festival, and the East End Primary Year 6 class departing for Disney World. Now, the Ministry of Education and Training wishes all students, parents, teachers, and chaperones safe travel as they represent their schools and the Cayman Islands abroad. This is always an exciting time, I know, for kids who are just getting off the island and just enjoying all that is paying off. Congratulations to all of you students. Let's turn our attention over to regional headlines this afternoon. A major milestone has been reached in Bermuda's affordable housing program, with the government securing financing to deliver 84 new homes across developments, and that is at Tommy Fox Road, Albert Row, and Victoria Place. The initiative, supported through the partnership with Bermuda Commercial Bank, represents an estimated $64 million investment and is expected to create opportunities for local contractors and service providers as construction moves ahead. Now, the Minister De Silva thanked the partners involved, while BCB Executive Anthony said the project will provide homes for 84 families and make a meaningful contribution to increasing Bermuda's supply of affordable housing. A newly released assessment from the United Kingdom government is offering a stark look at gang activity in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the report published this month by the United Kingdom Visa and Immigration estimates that more than 180 gangs are operating across the country and links organized criminal groups to roughly 1/3 of all murders. Now, it forms part of the United Kingdom's Country Policy and Information Note series and is considered one of the most comprehensive recent international reviews of the issue. Parts of France, yes, have recorded temperatures hotter than the Saharan desert as a powerful heat wave sweeps across Europe. Now we see where some areas have reached 107 degrees Fahrenheit, pushing conditions well beyond seasonal norms and prompting health warnings across the region. Meteorologists say that the extreme heat is expected to continue, with several countries bracing for elevated fire risks and potential strain on power grids. Authorities are urging residents, however, to take precautions as the heat wave intensifies. We see where a World Health Organization representative, one second here for me, just let me grab this one. A World Health Organization official says that Congo's Ebola outbreak has recorded the highest number of confirmed cases in the first month of any Ebola outbreak on the African continent. Now, health authorities warned that the rapid rise in infection highlights the seriousness of the situation and the need for sustained international support. WHO teams continue to work with local partners to strengthen surveillance, treatment, and containment efforts as the outbreak evolves. And as we wind down the news segment of Sabrina Speaks right here today, we end on a lighter note. Yes, we do. Taking it across the pond, because in the United Kingdom, one of the most enduring figures in government isn't a minister. Guess what? It's a cat. Larry, the 19-year-old tabby who resides at 10 Downing Street, has outlasted multiple prime ministers and became a familiar presence outside Britain's most recognizable address. Now, following the latest political shakeup, a popular social media account dictated to Larry offered a light-hearted reaction, posting the 5-word message, "Another one bites the dust." That takes us into the business market closing report for today, June the 23rd, as global markets close mostly lower today as a sharp tech sell-off continued to ripple across the US, Europe, and Asia. In the United States, the Dow Jones slipped to 51,666, while the S&P 500 fell to 7,376, and the NASDAQ dropped more than 2%, pressured by steep declines in semiconductor and AI-linked stocks. In Europe, we see the FTSE 100 ended slightly higher at 10,460, but the DAX and CAC 40 both closed down amid rate hike concerns and peak PMI data. Asian markets also retreated, with Japan's Nikkei falling more than 3% and Hong Kong's Hang Seng down nearly 2%. Oil prices eased and investors remain cautious as global tech volatility continues. There you have it. That wraps this evening's news, business, market, and weather report up for today. Welcome, welcome, one and all, to the Sabrina Speaks show, broadcasting here, yes, from the Cayman Islands. It's good to have you all joining me this evening. I am pleased to be here with you, happy to engage. Again, keeping you up to date and informed with all of the happenings that is happening locally, international, because at the end of the day, we're all connected. Oh, yes, we are. So we want to send birthday greetings out to anybody who's celebrating a birthday today. From all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks family, we want to celebrate with you and definitely wishing you a happy birthday. For those who are also celebrating anniversaries or you're just celebrating life, we celebrate that with you as well and wishing you many, many more to what's to come. Oh, yes. Why do I feel a sneeze coming on? I hope I'm not getting anything. Yes, and we know that there are some amongst us who are mourning the loss of a loved one. And please allow me to take this time to announce the sad passing of Dalton. That's Dalton in memory of Dalton. And we share the passing of Mr. Dalton, who departed this life on Saturday, June 20th, and extend heartfelt condolences to his families and friends and all whom have loved him. Now may they find comfort and cherish memories he leaves behind and strengthen the support of those around him during this difficult time. Funeral arrangements for the late Mr. Dalton will be announced at the later date, and we'd be more than happy to share that here with you as well. And likewise to all of those other persons who are mourning the loss of a loved one, our sincere condolences go out to you as you navigate this difficult and challenging times. Now, we want to remind persons, and this is in an extension here, because we're talking about the Caymanian Employment Survey. We've just been notified that the deadline has been extended to employers to take part in the Cayman Employment Survey. Now it's been extended and is open until the 30th of June, 2026. Now, the National Workforce Development Committee says employer feedback is essential to identifying skill gaps and strengthening employment pathways for Caymanians and shaping practical recommendations across its three strategic pillars. Now, those are education, employment, and job mobility. So by sharing their experience, employers will help inform evidence-based solutions that support workforce development and definitely create meaningful career opportunities. Now, you can participate in this survey, and it's available at publicconsultation.gov.ky. That is here on the screen. And like I said, that too has been extended until the 30th of June. Now, as I saw them extending this deadline, I got to just interject here a little bit. I was wondering if that is an idea of the landscape that we're all talking about here. Has this been extended because there's demand, or has it been extended because of the lack thereof of participation from employers? You can't write policy if employers are not participating. And I'm really hoping that it is because the demand is so overwhelming that there's so much information and feedback that they're getting that they've had to extend it. Now, if it is because it has grown silent, then Houston, there lies a huge problem, because that can signal a number of things. And I don't want to put words into anybody's mouth or predict anything that I don't have facts on, but it's definitely a reflection, I feel, of exactly what some people are saying that's happening out here in the workforce. And it speaks volumes of the industry and the environment that we're dealing with. So I'm really hoping that people will take an opportunity and participate in this. And when I say people, I mean employers will take the opportunity to participate in this survey and give positive feedback. If you're saying, Caymanians aren't fit for the job, we don't find suitable Caymanians, and you're given an opportunity to share why, this survey is here to assist in that process. I did it because I was once an employer. I can see it from both angles. And I was more than happy to participate in that. And with my next chapter, I could be looking for staff. Not ready yet. But what I'm saying is, I have the experience from two different levels. And it was the reason that I participated in that survey. And I must tell you, it was not long, was not difficult. And there was enough room there that by choice, if you could give additional feedback, it was there for you to provide your feedback. But what I'm saying is, if we don't hear from the employers and Caymanians don't feel that they're given the opportunity, how can the elected arm really make policy to improve the quality and to give whatever advice and guidance that they would need to steer and make Caymanians be more, let's say, appealing to employ if they do not have the information. So I encourage all employers, please, to participate in this survey. Let's change that narrative for the better. Again, we just want to do a gentle reminder. Today is the 23rd, and the next event for the June Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month is being celebrated here in this month of June. And that takes place on Thursday, the 25th. From 10 until 1, there is music for the brain at the South Sound Community Center. And as they wrap up, the next event there will be at the Georgetown Town Hall. Again, hearing all about Alzheimer's awareness for all of those who are working in the industry, may have just been, had a family member, or you want to just know more about it yourself. You are encouraged to attend this meeting at the Georgetown Town Hall on Thursday, the 30th of June, and that starts at 7 o'clock p.m. And again, Mango Fest is here. That's coming, 4th of July. Yep, 4th of July, long weekend, out town. Let's block the streets. Let's show up in our numbers and celebrate. Yes, yes, yes. I want to say good evening to all of those who are joining us this evening, and welcome one and all to our commenters. And we see you, all those who don't even comment. That's okay. We just love to have you here with us. And we love to have you tuning in and joining us. That's the whole idea. Commenters make me feel that I am not alone in this. And yes, it's a virtual podcast, but I love your feedback. I love your participation. It really makes a difference in this space. Connie Bonnie is joining us and in the house this afternoon, as usual. Good evening, Auntie Sabrina Turner, community activist, and the crew. I guess you're getting back as being home, and there's nothing I can tell you. I'm quite sure, Connie, being in your own bed, huh? Vacations are good, but there's just something unique when you sleep after a vacation. When you come back home and you sleep in your own bed, I know the feeling oh too well. But I'm happy to have you with us again, and I'll share those beautiful images. Let me just start with those right now. As a matter of fact, Connie Bonnie shared these beautiful images with us today. And here, no, she don't want to give me the scientific name. And please don't continue doing exactly what you said. She said, just call them orchids. So here's some beautiful images that Connie has shared with us from her garden of love. Look at these orchids. Yes, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful images that Connie has shared with us today. Yep, I want to thank you, Connie, for that. And Donnie from Green Valley Nursery has also shared with us some images that I'm more than happy to share with you today. There you go. That's one of the beautiful images from Miss Dawn at Green Valley Nursery. And here's another one. Yeah. That's another orchid. So these two ladies are my content creators in bloom, and they provide content for me to brighten your day when it comes to flowers. And we thank them for their loyalty, their dedication here, showing up every day, even when on vacation. They make sure that I have content, and I just want to let you know that I appreciate it. Damian Henry is here today. Oh, yes, UK. It's what? 11:31. And guess what? We got over all the housekeeping stuff in our half-hour segment, definitely. Damien is saying, good evening, all. I am not afraid of tomorrow, for I have seen yesterday and I love today. Yesterday taught me lessons to carry with pride. I carry with pride. Today fills me with strength and gratitude, and tomorrow is simply another chance to rise, grow, and become even more than I was before. Now, the future is ours to shape, so make it everything you dare to dream. You go there, Damien. I hope you're serving some of these lyrics because you could do well over Valentine's or just because. Thank you so much, Damien. We appreciate you. Slay, Slay, Slay is in the house this evening. Carol, I still say it. The baddest, one of the baddest hairdressers, and all of the team over there at Slay Beauty Bar, from braids to nails. They can got you covered. Thank you, Slay and the team over there. I don't want to name them because I'm horrible with the names, but she took care of my grays up front. Yes. But it's good to always have you guys locked in. Alfred Reed, good evening, Sabrina, and to everyone tuning in. Thank you for being here with us as well. Andrew Campbell is also in the house with us this evening. Good evening, Sabrina. Blessed Tuesday to you and the Cayman Islands. Wake up, Cayman Islands is commenting. Yes, it's good to have you. Hi, Sabrina. It has been so hot that I couldn't even listen to your show yesterday. I had a terrible headache from the heat. This feels as hot as Cayman. I thought I had left that kind of heat behind. Oh my God. Boy, I'm hearing it's bad. And the thing is, wake up. You guys are going to have that heat dome over you for at least maybe for the rest of the week and maybe into next week. There are temperatures that we're hearing 107 degrees. Yeah, you guys, you see the news. You've been hotter than the Saharan desert, for God's sakes. And those buildings over there are not built to withstand heat. So I empathize with you guys over there, and just hydrate yourself. We've seen where there are news where people are drowning as well because they're just going to try get cooled off. So my thoughts and prayers with all of you guys over there who are just not used to the heat. And just be safe and hydrate yourself. Yes. Connie, thank you. Yes, you're more than welcome, my love. Wake Up is also saying, this feels as hot as Cayman. I thought I'd left that behind. I even saw a sign saying our restaurant had run out of ice. And boy, now you know that bad. You guys aren't used to ice over there. I remember when I was over there, even though it was in March, and I had a beverage and I said, can I have some ice, please? They literally were counting the tubes. And I had to call the waiter over and I said, I'm from the Cayman Islands. And they're like, what the hell are you doing here? I said, so when I ask for ice, I don't want 2 little pieces, like fill it up. And they were looking at me like I was from a different planet. Yeah. So I can totally understand. They're not used to that. So OMG. Just as climate change and what we're doing to the environment. Ooh, boy. Just be safe. All of my friends and family over there in the United Kingdom, just be safe. This too shall pass. And I don't want to hear any horror stories because we're seeing them already coming out of there. And a few people have passed out on the high street. Thankfully, they were okay. On a positive note, my neighbor with solar panels is enjoying the free energy, especially their air conditioning. Oh, well, you see, I think you guys are going to be, even though it's not used, I can see the building codes and different things being changed over there with time as we see where climate change is impacting weather. So, oh my goodness. But yeah, please be safe. Damien says, my kid's school closing tomorrow because of how hot it's going to get. See, I remember yesterday's news. There's really nothing in legislation that says really how hot it gets that schools close. Remember that was in yesterday's news. So they're realizing that. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? Oh Lord, but aren't you guys supposed to be out anyhow? What are you guys on? Or they're going to probably be closing early for summer, isn't it? I thought you guys were on a similar timetable like us here, the British system. So they would have probably been out of school in short order anyhow. I think here is 1 more week to go. So thank God. But now you got kids to deal with at home and all of this unpredictable weather. Just be safe, guys. Just be safe, Damien. Thank you for sharing that with us. Like I said, welcome, one and all. And if you're just joining me tonight, it's good to have you here because we're having civic education conversation that was inspired, as I said at the top of the hour, by what we're seeing happening right over there in the United Kingdom, where, yes, 7 prime ministers in 10 years. constant turnovers, and commentators are saying that the instability is structural and systemic. You're going to be hearing a lot of that because I've been reading a lot of articles. I've been following it up. And, that's what, like I said, inspired today's episode. And right here for us at home, as a British overseas territory, we operate under the same Westminster style model. And guess what? Our elected arm, our operational arm, functions the same way. So when the United Kingdom system starts showing its cracks, we would be unwise to assume that we're immune. We're already seeing slight signs here. Yes, we are already seeing it in delays, bottlenecks, public frustration. Yes. So again, tonight is not about blame. It's about understanding the system that we've inherited. But, before, let me please take a note and just declare, out of respect for our civil servants who are tuned in, I know that because I get your feedback. And for those who genuinely know me, you know that I mean this from the bottom of my heart. This conversation is not an attack on you guys. No, it is not a criticism of your dedication. No, it's not. It is not a challenge, even to your dignity. And civil servants, you are the backbone of our country and any country. You all carry the weight of continuity, stability, and definitely service. And we know that you guys work long hours, often without recognition, and you keep the country running regardless of which government is in office. And to be honest with you, I honor that. But I also have to speak truth. Yes, without fear. And a true civil service is really neutral. A true civil service is professional. And a true civil service serves the public, not politics. What we are seeing is that also true civil service really supports the elected arm, not shape it. That's not criticism. That's the definition of the profession that you're all working in. And when that neutrality, being unbiased, slips, and unintentionally, the entire system becomes unbalanced. Not because civil servants are bad people, please don't get me wrong, but because the structure allows pressure, it allows influence, it allows internal cultures to drift away from the principles that protect the very thing that we use so often, and that's our democracy. So tonight's conversation is not about blaming any of you. No, it is not. It's just about strengthening the system you work in, that you work with. It's about ensuring that you have the tools and definitely a clear understanding and the environment to do your jobs with excellence and always with integrity. Because when civil service is strong, neutral, and empowered, guess who benefits? The whole country does. So, yes, to every civil servant listening, this is not about fear. It is about dignity. That's what it is. This is about honoring the role you play in our democracy. So let's get into this discussion, because when we're all on the same side, the side of Cayman, the side of good governance, that's the side of truth. And that's what we're unearthing today. So yes, good evening, Donnie. It's good to have you with us. I've shared your beautiful flowers for today. It's good to have you commenting, and it's always good to have you being a part of this platform, like so many of you, even if it's after the fact. Now, like I said, I read an article that was put up, and I'll be posting the link after this episode of Sabrina Speaks, that was posted in a conversation by the GB News. And that argument is basically saying in this article that Britain keeps changing prime ministers, not because one bad leader or a bad party, but really it's because the whole political system has deep structural problems that keep producing instability. And what we're seeing is that in this particular article, when I did a deep dive and tried to do similar comparisons to here and how the Westminster style of governance it became a harsh reality that, whoa, I'm seeing a lot of similarities here. Now, what's making headlines is the fact that Britain having 7 prime ministers in 10 years is not an accident. That's really the main point of this article that I read. It's really saying, and a lot that's not being said, what it's saying is that it's a sign that the system itself is broken. Yes, because you can look at it under a number of headings. Number one, leaders keep failing because the system keeps failing. Yeah. And referring back to this article and the conversation, the argument is that what we're seeing is that UK political structure has become unstable since Brexit. Prime ministers are not lasting. And what we're seeing, and based on the research that was done, is that you've seen an increase since Brexit, that Parliament is divided and hard to control. We're seeing where parties are constantly fighting internally. We're seeing the public is broken and losing trust. We're seeing economic pressures making governing much harder. And Brexit, from these findings, created long-term political tensions. Now, this, my friends, is supported by the timeline of resignations that is just dominating right now headlines. We saw where Cameron quit after losing the Brexit vote. We saw where Ms. Theresa May quit after failing to pass her Brexit deal. We see where Johnson quit after scandals of mass resignations. And we saw where even Truss quit after her economic plan crashed the markets. We see where Sunak lost the elections after, party infighting and public dissatisfaction. OMG, you remember that? And now we're seeing the latest casualty. Starmer quit after his own party turned on him following the poor elections result. Now, the point is, many leaders collapse quickly, but what they're seeing possibly is the problems must be bigger than the leaders themselves. Stick with me. Number 2, structural and systemic. We're seeing that a lot in a lot of the back and forth. We're hearing it on the roundtable discussions, and some of these things are becoming repetitive. So I personally dug into it for the sake of this article and asked, what did it mean for this context? And when you talk about structural, that means the way the political system is built, right? And then when you see systemic, for the sake of this article, that is highlighting the problems that run through the whole system, not just in one specific part. So what the conversation and the article is really pointing out is that the United Kingdom's political machine is jammed. And swapping drivers won't actually fix the engine. Quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah. The third part to highlight is that why 7 prime ministers in 10 years even matter? Who cares? We change them and change them until we get it right. Well, guess what? Most stable democracies have one leader for at least 4 to 10 years. Britain is now averaging one new prime minister every 1.5 years. 1.5 years. And that level of turnover usually signals, 1, the government can't plan long term. 2, policies keep changing from one prime minister to the next. They're not in the seat long enough. Parties then are constantly fighting. 4, the public then starts to lose confidence. They become politically exhausted. And guess what? The economy becomes uncertain. And what this does is that this matches exactly everything that I was reading in that article. Because what we see where Starmer's resignation, like others, was triggered by internal party pressure, poor polling, and political turbulence. So to be honest with you, what I got out of this whole thing, what is really being spoken about very publicly and loud is that Britain's political chaos is not about one bad prime minister. It's really about a political system that has just become unstable since Brexit, with deep-rooted problems that keep producing short-lived leaders. But guess what? Here's the deeper truth that I'm actually sensing here. Yeah, because out of this article, it hints to something big. Something big that it's not even saying outright. Yeah. And that is like an undercurrent. You're saying it, but you're not saying it. It's almost like you're speaking in parables. And to be honest with you, the real root of the problem in this article that I was reading is that infamous line, changing the driver won't fix the engine. You've heard it here in Cayman a lot. Different brand, same powerhouse. You see the similarities? So let me quote again. Changing the driver won't fix the engine. That's not just a metaphor, my friends. It's a quiet admission that the operational machinery of government, the civil service, the advisory system, the policy-making pipeline, and the accountability structure is no longer functioning as designed. And this, my friends, is the part that they don't say explicitly, because saying it openly would mean admitting that the United Kingdom's government doesn't just have political instability, it has operational instability. And that, my friends, is far more serious. Don't worry, we're coming home. Yes. What we see when this happens, right? We're getting there. Hold on, don't rush, because I am now pointing out the obvious that some of you are not even picking up. So I know as some, tell us the solution, tell us, how are you going to be able to identify it? And I love your comments. Yeah, I love it. Keep coming with the feedback. Just wait. We're getting there. We're getting there. Trust me, we're getting there. But I got to bring it to reality, guys. I got to bring it through. And you got to read it, because when you read the article, which is why I'm not posting it now, I'm going to post it after the show, is that now that I've broken it down in layman's terms, you're all able to see through a total different lens, unbiased, but factual. For those of you who are joining me from the UK, around the world, and even locally, it will all make sense. The civil service. You ever heard us saying the operational arm? That's what we're talking about. There are two arms, the elected arm and the operational arm. The operational arm is the civil service. Yes. The permanent bureaucracy that we're seeing, and we have heard our elected arms talking about this, that is supposed to provide continuity, expertise, internal institutional memory, and policy implementation. The civil service, the operational arm, if this arm becomes slow, risk averse, overly political, resistant to elected leaders, fragmented, or even the system that they're working on is outdated, then no prime minister, no elected party, no elected government can succeed, no matter how talented they are. This is the engine they're hinting at in this article. Number two, you got the policy-making pipeline. And what that includes is advisors, committees, regulators, analysts, legal drafters, implementation teams. This, my friends, is the pipeline. If that is clogged, confused, or contradictory, then guess what happens? Policies then fail. Leaders fail. And the public loses trust. And this is why members of parliament and prime ministers in this article, huge, keep collapsing. Number three, the accountability system. And this includes parliament, watchdogs, ethic bodies, party discipline, media pressure, public expectations. Now, if these systems become hyper-reactive as well, punitive, inconsistent, or even in some cases that we are seeing weaponized, then leaders themselves cannot survive long enough to govern. But the part that no one wants to say, I'm getting there, the operational arm is not neutral anymore. I'm referring to the article. This is the uncomfortable truth that this article dances around quite strategically. And in that, we're seeing that the operational machinery of government is no longer stable, neutral, or aligned with long-term national strategies. Instead, what it is taking on, it is becoming reactive, politicized, fragmented, definitely seeing signs of being overwhelmed, outdated, because you've heard them, and internally conflicted. Yeah. And this is why 7 prime ministers in 10 years is not a coincidence, my friends. It's a symptom. Remember I say, it's a symptom. It is a symptom. So there's a lot that's not being said, but here's the blunt part of it. The UK's government engine is malfunctioning right now. And the political class keeps blaming the drivers instead of repairing the engine. And it's unfortunate. And I can understand why, being in this space. But this article avoids saying the civil service is struggling to deliver. The policy system is outdated. The bureaucracy is too slow for modern crisis. The internal fractions are actually sabotaging leaders. The system cannot handle the pace of rapid change. And Brexit, my friends, exposed weaknesses that were already there. And what we're seeing is that the public expects results faster than the system can even produce. And therefore, leaders are then punished for systemic failures they didn't even create. Leaders are punished for systemic failures they did not create. And these are just operational truths, not political ones. So if something is going off in your stomach, and this is instinctually, yeah, this is a huge problem. And we can see so much of this happening right under our noses Because, yes, if the engine is broken, no leader can last, no policy can stick, and no long-term plan can even survive. We're also noticing that no party can stabilize the country, and the public then in turn loses trust. And that's why the metaphor is so profound and also so alarming. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Auntie Sabrina. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You look good.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to connect the Starmer resignation to Cayman, right?
Are
But
you
not
where we are
necessarily
right
part
now?
of it.
Don't jump to the end because I'm trying to highlight the obvious problem. So go ahead.
Okay.
I don't want you to jump ahead because that's where we fall into problems. We're hungry to identify, but if I don't break it down like this, we are having a problem identifying the problems before coming to the solutions. So go ahead with your feedback. I'll allow you to go ahead.
Okay, well, feel free to stop me at any point, right? Because for me, the lesson is bigger than Keir Starmer. I think in the Keir Starmer case, what it shows is that winning an election is one thing, but actually making the system deliver is something else. Starmer came in promising stability after years of political chaos in the UK. But the problem is people don't want stability as a slogan, right? They want to feel relief in their actual lives. They want bills to ease. They want wages to stretch. They want, public services to work. They want government to look like it knows what it's doing.
What government? There are two arms. Be specific for the sake of this
Well,
conversation.
I'm just saying because I hear your point about the elected arm and
But that's where we have to, for the sake of
operational arm.
educating, yes, for civic education and not pointing fingers, which is why I was so humble and respectful at the beginning, because I'm not blaming it. We need to start identifying when we say government, what arm are you speaking for? So people are not just looking tunnel. You're not pointing fingers. You're not casting blame. You just, for the sake of making sure people understand, operational arm, aka the civil service, the elected arm, your elected leaders. That's, to me, makes the conversation flow so much better for the sake of today's episode.
Okay. What I was gonna say is that we often focus on the person at the top,
The
right?
leader.
The leader, right? And listen, leadership is a hard job, right? And everybody thinks that they can do it until they get into the seat, and then they realize, oh well, we got procurement this, and we have budgets, and we have contracts that were signed by previous governments, and we have this problem, and we have to make the budget stretch, and I pray for my leaders because it is a difficult job. And what I like is that you're pointing out that it's not a man at the top or the woman, right? It's how because governments are, and when I say I'm talking about government in general, governments are built for continuity, right? And that's not automatically a bad thing. The civil service is supposed to be politically neutral. It's supposed to serve whichever government the people elect, right? That's what gives it stability, right? What that means is that the country doesn't collapse every time there's an election. But as you're alluding to, if the system is too slow, or if it's too cautious, or if it's too protected, or it's too unclear, then every new government can come in promising change, and they still end up trapped inside the same old machinery.
You're treating the symptoms and not getting to the root cause.
Right. So, so if the public hears promises about housing, let's say housing, right, or traffic, or immigration, pick any issue, education, healthcare, planning, cost of living, opportunity for Caymanians. Once those promises enter the system, where do they go? Do they go to a ministry? Do they go to a department?
That
They go
is
to
why
a
we're
board?
doing these episodes, to let you know, and that's another episode of doing a deep dive in really how government functions. You can't identify the problem. And even what we have seen, and this is later on in this episode, that you have elected leaders that they themselves don't understand the operational arm before they're even elected. But they go out there and it's a campaign and they're making all of these promises, but they don't understand the machinery. They have
Yeah, I
no
mean,
clue how it works.
in your experience as a minister, right?
You asking me questions again? I'm not a guest.
Well,
But go
okay,
ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
let me say it this way. Let me say it this way, right? I mean, and this is not me picking on any minister or any particular government.
It's fine. You can use me. You can use me,
right?
but you realize where I'm trying to just be
I know.
neutral,
I know.
unbiased.
But I agree with you. I think this is where, and we need to pull this apart, because a minister can say, oh, well, that's operational. Then the department can say, oh, well, that's policy. And then a board can say, oh, well, that's under review.
Mm-hmm.
Or then a consultant can say, well, more study is needed. Right? And then it slows down, all sometimes to a grinding halt. And then the public is left asking, who owns the failure?
But that's where the power is, in the public. And this is why you got to know
Right.
your power. If internally it's fractured, the power is in the people. And that is what we are seeing happening in the UK right now, that you have thousands all over the world that are marching because at some point they're going to be asking you for your vote. And internally, both the operational and the political arm will have to listen to the people. This is by no means instigating riots or marches or anything like that. But exactly what you said, the public right now is so frustrated because, one, not everybody understands the machine. Not everybody understands how it works. And tell me which politician is going to say, in all honesty, without making it appear as though they're not worth their salt, but you just got to understand the separation of powers, that you're a minister. You better make this happen. If it's an operational thing to be executed, they can't interfere unless there's a change in constitution. There is a reason for separation of powers. You're seeing what happened right now where they're enriching themselves. It's all over the world, yada, yada, yada. That separation comes because of past failures and opportunists and people just being taken advantage of. But right now, is the scales balanced? Education is power. And once you understand the inner workings of how the government works, the separation of powers, and for God's sake, I'm hoping that I've opened up the door so that our elected leaders can just be very honest with those who've elected them, to just say, look, this is the current system that we're working under. I know you're expecting me to bring it home, but this is the process that it has to take before I can deliver. We have funded this so that we can get better and faster response and pace can be improved, but that's not our role. And this is not kicking the can down the road. The more we talk and educate civic on how the operational arm works, the more informed and the better of conversations you will have the civic persons out there understanding the role of both arms of government.
Well, I'd like to put a question, not to you, but to the listening audience, right? Should Cayman have a simple public tracker for major government promises? Not a complicated report that nobody reads, right? I mean, something ordinary people can understand. This is what was promised. This is what was started. This is what was delayed. What was completed. What was over budget. What was under review.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we can track a package from overseas, why can't we track major public promises that affect our lives?
It can be done, but how much reads the reports? How much even sit down and listen to what is being delivered in the floor of Parliament?
Well,
all of those annual reports that are tabled in the floor of Parliament, I know it's a pain in the laurels to go through. And this is why I feel the people are actually done a disservice when reports are tabled and they don't give reports on them. And they don't speak on the floor of Parliament about what's in those reports. It is the onus then of the people of this country to go on the Legislative Assembly's website and find those reports, or on the respective ministry, and find those reports in PDF and break it down for yourself. The big question you should be asking, is that enough of your leaders to just says the contents are in the details? Go and read it at your time when you're in Parliament for a reason. That's the big question. Do you deserve more?
But that's what I'm asking. Should we just like simplify it? Even, just have a public tracker. This was a promise, started, delayed, completed, over budget.
Yeah.
Right. And then for those who want chase the details, they chase the details.
Exactly. You can do a deeper dive, but at least a synopsis overview is what John Public needs. And I feel that we can do a better job based on what I'm observing. And sometimes mine were too long. Sometimes I've had to withdraw my reports when I was in the seat because of the agenda, and some people found it boring. I mean, internally, we may think it's boring because we would have dealt with our colleagues behind closed doors and explain it before it actually gets on the order paper to be presented on the floor of Parliament. So it's nothing new to those on the inside. But when you're actually on the floor of Parliament, you're representing the people of this country. And I feel that is an opportunity for you to educate and inform the public of what's in those reports. Now, hold on. If those reports are so backlogged that I would be reading reports, putting myself in the position of a time that I wasn't there, then I'm opening up myself to be questioned by members of the opposition or the public, because again, for the lack of knowledge, the people will perish. They will then hold that minister responsible for reading a report that has been tabled by the sitting minister of stuff that probably was predated them before they were even elected. But I think anything that would have come under one sitting minister's term, it is in their best interest to at least highlight what the contents and details are contained in those reports. That's what going to Parliament is all about. Or you go on the media platforms and you speak, you go on the shows, you got the power of social media now, you do your own vlog with permission from the ministry, and because that's government business. I just feel you deserve more. The people deserve more.
I think I'm not gonna keep you on the phone, but I think if we really want to fix the system, I think the public, as a public, we need to start demanding at least 6 simple things: clear ownership, public tracking, fewer endless reviews, stronger board accountability, faster but still transparent procurement, and a focus on real life results. I'll leave you there.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Alfred, for calling in, and definitely for that. But it definitely gets the juices going. And let me just grab some of the comments that are being made here so I don't leave you out. But it's just so much to unpack and to deliver here. And just for note, this is not about the current minister. If you've noticed, this is straight about an article of showing exactly systemic failures in the UK and bringing it relative to what I'm quite sure a lot of you, because I'm seeing some of your messages that are actually making it and are putting certain things to the forefront that's relative to what you can see starting to happen here, which is why I'm happy that the intent of the delivery was to exactly provoke that, to bring that out in you. Let's go to some of the comments here. Andrew is saying the heat in the kitchen in the UK Parliament, very hot. Immigration, high cost of living, medical care, crime are just some of the major issues which are affecting all of us. Real Michelle is joining us this afternoon. Good evening. Integrity is the only character trait which, once lost, cannot be regained. buttery banksters have no integrity, and honesty seems long gone. Adam Stern says, how will we feel? Oh, yes, this is, we're getting there. Thank you so much. Damian Henry weighs in this evening. I don't think the UK political system is broken. It's just that they are quick to remove an MP or a prime minister when their unlawful actions are discovered. If you mess up and the public finds out, there you have to go, unlike some Caribbean countries, where even serious wrongdoing doesn't always lead to leaders stepping down. Very good observation. You're onto something there as well. Andrew also comments and says, the car is the problem. System, in brackets, keeps breaking down. The drivers being changed around is not helping. Identify the problem with the car, aka the system, change the vehicle or upgrade. Yes, you're getting it. You're getting it. Real Michelle says, and changing the engine or the car won't change the bumpy road. So we can push this. How long is a piece of string? Andrew also says, one man, prime minister, cannot run a factory, aka government and country. Without the key people to effect policies through appropriate ministries, you will always have an ineffective, broken system. A chain is only as strong as the weakest link. North Carolina Love is in the house, even though late. We are good to have you here. Good to have you here, Marshall. Adam Stern says, in the private sector, we call out the individuals and department that are blockers. It's not the same, my love. Yeah, and you're agreeing with something that I said. Hello, Harry Stir. How's the heat? Treating ya. Miss Dorothy is joining us this evening. How are you, my love? So good to see you. Even Darlene is weighing in and saying good evening and blessings to all. Harry is saying the most amazing thing is that when David Cameron was in office, he had 9 pension secretaries in 5 years. Now it turns out that pensions is quite a long-term issue and was just a total mess. And I think you guys got a lot more to unearth. But what we're seeing, again, coming out of this article, which I am going to encourage all of you guys to go and read, is that they have also identified, based on commentary, is that the UK is running on a 20th century system in a 21st century world. Very interesting, isn't it? Doesn't that resonate with some of you? Some people are still doing annual reports and that sort of stuff, financial reports in Excel, for God's sakes. Yes, it's real. Yeah, so similarities are there. And those of you who knows what I'm talking about, you can't disagree with that statement. The world is now faster. It's proven to be even more complex, more interconnected that we're seeing. And with that comes more volatility. But what we're seeing over in the United Kingdom is that operational machinery is proven to be slow. Procedural issues, it's resistant to change. Hint, hint, are we seeing anything? Yes. And this mismatch produces instability at the top. Now, some may say, well, what the heck is really going on? We're seeing some of the comments of why you think it is, but out of what this article is saying and not saying based on commentary that keeps coming in on the article is that they're seeing where in the United Kingdom, and some of the reasons are pointing for the collapse is because the system underneath them is unstable. Not because every leader is personally weak. They're pointing the attention that also there's a problem with the engine malfunctioning. Yes. They've identified that in many cases, and you know how they go and they do their investigations, they're trying to run this 21st century country with a 20th century operational. And that, my friend, and what we're seeing here in the Cayman Islands as well, can produce slow processes, layers and layers of committees, endless and endless consultations, even bottlenecks, even though they're legal bottlenecks. And of course, we're seeing fragmented responsibilities. So yes, the public blames the PM, the Prime Minister. The party blames the Prime Minister. The minister blames the Prime Minister or the leaders. But the real issue, from what we're seeing, the real issue is delivery failure, not leadership in many cases. It is proven Brexit exposed deep structural weaknesses. Yes, it showed that the UK's policies, the machinery can't handle the massive complex changes so quickly. And long-term strategy was also missing. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Mr. Sabrina. How are you doing today?
I am fair to find, given thankful. Much better than yesterday. Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, wow. I don't know what happened.
No, it wasn't the show. It was just, yesterday was just a downer.
Yeah. I'm just trying to keep quiet these days, but this conversation, I just voice my little opinion in on this.
Okay.
You know what the problem is?
What is the problem?
We don't love each other as a world, as a country, as an island, as a society, as people in general.
Mm-hmm.
We don't love one another. And that's been from the beginning of time, from time Adam and Eve sinned in the garden. Mankind has drawn away from one another. They don't love one another. That's what this problem is. I've been watching the situation in the world all my life. I was born into it, and it came a time and I decided to, well, I got follow what's going on in this world so that I could understand. I read the Bible. I asked God to show me things, and God opened my eyes and showed me things and got me to whip out of his. I'm not saying I know everything. I know a little bit. The real problem is, and I can call it for what it is capitalism. Now, anybody could argue they're free for their opinion. That's my opinion. The problem is capitalism. The United States, the UK is falling, and the United States is just holding together with duct tapes. That's the only thing that got the United States holding together, duct tape. Because you take that situation that happened with Brexit, that was because capitalists wanted more money. They didn't want to unionize with Britain under the union. They decided to say, well, the capitalists now in UK decided to say, well, we could make more money if we resign from the system. And they pushed it through politics, and the people that was elected was capitalists themselves. You see what I'm saying? There's an old saying that came way back. I forget what he mean. That was Socrates or whoever it was that said that quote. As long as you vote for the man that owns the candy store, you things are never gonna get better. You can always have to buy candy. Something to that effect. As long as you keep voting and electing capitalists, this is the situation that we're in now. Things are scarce now, you know. There's becoming more poor people. The world is becoming a larger place. I'm gonna wrap this up quick. I just given the highlights on it, right? It's a long story, like what I tell you. And as you know perfectly well, it's a long story. So I just can't say it in 5 minutes, but I just can get a quick synopsis, a quickly rundown of it. The world is becoming larger now, and more poor people are coming into the world. So the capitalists thinking that they could feed on those people, they're saying that it was a society that the people wanted to reduce the society. They don't want to reduce society. They want to increase the society so that they could have more things to sell because the capitalist, that's what he does. He sells, right? Capitalist is the father and socialism is the mother. So we need a mother now in this world to get us out. The politicians understand that, but they're between a rock and a hard place. Presidents of all over the world, they understand that because capitalism been going around the world for the last almost 200 years now. Longer, but I'm just dealing with the Industrial Revolution era and coming from Britain during that era, almost 200 years in that era that it been flourishing. So we reached a point now where capitalism is at the crossroad. They cannot continue with that model anymore. So the only model now to go in is to go in to a socialist society. Now, a socialist society doesn't mean that nobody not gonna work and nobody not gonna get paid and nobody can allow to make how much money they want to make. No, a socialist society, call it a democratic socialist society or whatever you want to call it, is that people need more help from the government themselves. Because now you tell me how can a society function if you electing people to help you and those same people can't help you because they're being controlled by capitalists. If the capitalist runs the society under capitalist system, now you tell me capitalism controlling everything and how, so their hands are tied and they're subject to the people that is running the country and running the economy. So that is what happening all over the world now. That's what happened in England, that's what happened in Cayman, and that's what happened in the United States. Those three main pillars. You don't see Canada. Canada is drifting away from that model now. Canada was under the same model, and they started to realize now that it can't work. So they're drifting away now, and they're going in more to a socialist model where they could actually help the people, where government is regulating instead of having a corporatocracy. Government is actually coming in and trying to regulate the lights, regulate the water, regulate business and how much money that you could actually make in a business. All that can't go in. You can't come like it's a free market and one for all that. This society, that model is falling apart. Sorry to tell anybody if they don't know. The balloon is about to burst.
Well, then that leaves onus.
So
that leaves the onus on politicians, and actually, because what we're seeing is that, going back to the actual system, is that we have seen evidence where, in many times, leaders and politicians seems to, at some point in time, be swallowed by the same machinery, and for the fear of, or lack thereof, of just being honest and explaining the truth, because that strikes a nerve with all that you've said. Because what we're seeing is where leaders, MPs, they are refraining from telling the public in many occasions that the system itself isn't the problem. They have to. This is why, let me put it this way. Just what you're trying to break down in a synopsis is why you can't just have one episode on something like this, because we're so hungry for the information. We have failed on civics. We have failed on educating the people. And I'm worried, and it's more coming to light, that many a times it was by design. And only for those who are interested, that they go deep dive. And then guess what? Those move along with their life to just go out and listen to what they're being said. It's a populace, it's charisma, it's all of that. And you buy what they're selling. But if you do not understand the machinery, you are buying a puss in the bag.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be wrapped up in one segment. You need a lot more deep dive into this for people to understand. A lot of the people, they can't comprehend what we're talking about,
because they're not. But now they're feeling it, and then the reaction then can be labeled as ignorance. The reaction can be labeled as, oh, you're just this party or that party, and this is where you almost want to put blame on those who know better. And like I said at the beginning, some may love what I'm doing. Some may not like what I'm doing because I'm educating. I'm breaking it down in layman's terms. And that's why this article was so profound that inspired this episode, because there's so much similarities, even though it's not just this one prime minister, because it's just looking overall at the system. And why not do a deep dive in this article? Because we are a British overseas territory citizen, country, jurisdiction, and the same style of governance, Westminster style, is how we operate here. So if we're seeing what's happening over there, it's the very same model that our operational and elected arm, the functions of Parliament, is operating under the same system. Hello, if I am able to bring multiple episodes to identify certain things, it's quicker for us to be able to identify the fractures, the problems, so that when you have conversation and you make comments, it is coming from a factual comparison, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, it's that we don't love one another. What happening up there don't surprise me, because I saw it coming. I saw it coming. If you had said this 10 years ago,
nobody
like
would.
I was talking 10 years ago and became blacklisted. That was the same thing. You see, I wasn't blacklisted because of anything criminal, you know. I was blacklisted for talking the truth. So that is why, like me and a lot of them. So this is what happened. No,
but now that this is happening, this is happening around the world.
And politicians take it personal. Exactly. It wasn't nothing personal. It was just something that you had your insight in, and you were talking about the system. But they took it personal. Whether the politicians took it personal or the capitalist friends took it personal, and they started to blacklist these people in society, these activists and all that in society. That's why it is. We're like a communist country just happening in China too. So in a much difference. And don't forget, and don't mix up now. I don't want to bother to mix up socialism and communism. They're two different
things.
Like,
yeah,
exactly. So I leave you with that. It's a long story. That's why we got learn to love one another. And if politicians don't love their people and don't love their country, if they prefer to love the capitalists, and the capitalists not striking a balance, you know, you might have legitimate politicians and legitimate leaders that say, well, let's strike a balance. But a capitalist, he not worried about striking a balance. He just worried in one mindset, one frame of mind. Make as much money as I could make. That's all he worried about. So the capitalist, he don't want to strike no balance. His balance is that he having the upper arm over society, and government is vulnerable to these capitalists. As long as the people that got a candy store runs the country, we always gonna be how to pay top dollar for the candy.
And this is why I said it is to an advantage and a disadvantage to many when you have an educated population. And for far too long, what may actually come out of all of these episodes as we continue to build this space is that you're finding where sound information is now being put in the public's domain, coming in an unbiased way. But when you get an educated and informed society, better decisions are being made. And then they can't just throw anything at you. But you're able then to ask more in-depth questions to let them know. You may not get it right, but to let them know you're onto something. And I feel that is a disservice for years now that I'm in this space and have been in the top seats, is that there has really been a disservice in civics. And I'm hoping that eventually people will have the interest and they will see the importance of having these levels of talks and discussions once they're coming from a trusted source, and you can put the similarities in and just be motivated and informed of the realities of what's happening, because we're not immune to what's happening over there. that it could not actually play out here.
Definitely. And it'll be interesting. And next one will go in. And the same thing will be happening because they got to change the model.
Exactly.
As long
You got to
as they
fix
keep
the engine.
As long as they keep pushing capitalism in the UK and other societies, they don't start to put their foot down and lean more to a socialist society where they got to help the people more, and put the capitalists one side, then they'll always be like that perpetually. You know, they'll never change, and the people will always be in the middle, suffering, and can't get no better, and wondering what happening, and the elephant is right in the room sitting down.
It's staring us right in the face, but we're not able to identify it. And that's why I'm hoping that with these topics, with these discussion, with these different episodes, that we'll be in a better position to identify some of the obvious that is just staring us right down the face.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Always appreciate your contribution. Have a good evening.
Continue this conversation longer.
Thank you. Oh, I have to finish up tomorrow. Thank you, my dear. Sure. We're seeing where that we continue to look at the comments that are coming in, and Harry is weighing in because the government used to be filled with very intelligent people who were capable of micromanagement of the country. Now the government is filled with a bunch of people who are good at telling stories and repeating the government line that they have no ideas for serious policy. And when they do have serious policy, it is mismanaged and unfunded and understaffed. Harry also says, and I think the bigger issue is that pre-Margaret Thatcher, there was multiple people in a cabinet that could make decisions. Harry also says, as a government now, everything in the entire United Kingdom government is centralized to the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. That's it. I think he says, Damien, there was absolute fury. I mean, genuine anger across the country that 5 out of 650 MPs abuse their expense system. And there's comments coming in. I want to make sure I don't miss any. There was absolute uproar, and that became the biggest issue of the year from the public's perspective. Damien is also saying the UK doesn't have a single written constitution like many countries. Instead, it relies on long-standing traditions, conventions, aka unwritten rules, historic laws. Because of this, change tends to be involuntary, not revolutionary. People often stick to what has worked before, so major changes doesn't get pushed through. Remember, I said earlier, they're adverse to change. Barbara G is joining us this evening. How are you, my love? It's good to have you joining us and commenting. Harry goes on to say, but I also feel like the Prime Minister that we've had like the cabinet and parliament as a whole have what's going on here? Okay, hold on. Yeah, let me get this one. For example, Boris Johnson repeatedly violated the constitution, lied to the Queen, prorogued Parliament illegally, and broke his own lockdown rules to have a party while the Queen was a loon at the Duke. Yeah, that was at the Edinburgh funeral. Alfred is commenting and weighing in. Cayman needs a government system where promises were tracked, delays are explained, responsibility is named, and failure has consequences. Otherwise, every election becomes the same story. New faces seem injured, seem frustration. But it's a delicate balance, Alfred, which is what I'm saying. You think there was a reason why my intro there wasn't a reason behind my long intro? And even to remind people, just before I went into the substantive discussion this evening, you cannot be thin-skinned in any of these roles. And the whole reason for this and these discussions is to enlighten, to educate, to bring awareness to the facts. This is not coming at the elected arm. This is not coming at any government, past, present, even future. This is not coming after any civil servant. This is just bringing to one's awareness, educating. And I can assure you, something like this has to be delicately balanced, because not telling you that it will not work, but how thin skin do you think some will be? Yes, in order to move us forward, modernization, transparency is key. We constantly use that word. And I think that's where you're going with your comment. But at the end of the day, we're still modernizing. We're still having to mature into this big democratic society that we like to use these words. But are we mature at the pace in which we're seeing politics evolving around us? Are we mature enough to really take it to the next step? Is another question that we should pin on the pin board. Harry is saying, Liz Truss, there's a saying, women get things done. My God, is that true? In 46 days, keeping in mind she had 14 days off because the Queen died, she bankrupted the country and sent the markets into full panic. Alfred Reel is saying, this is not about attacking civil servants. Many civil servants work hard, but a system can be full of good people and still produce poor results if incentives are wrong. The structure is slow and nobody is clearly accountable for delivery. Thank you so much. Of course, I'm reading them one as they come. I'm not fast forwarding. So if I even comment on a comment, you've clarified it after the fact. So yep, I just hope people realize what I'm doing here. Sunak just didn't do anything other than keep the ship sailing in the direction it was going and hang on for dear life. Oh, he held on for a while. The fix is not just change the driver. The fix is open the hood, inspect the engine, replace the worn out parts, and stop pretending that a fresh coat of political paint will make the vehicle move faster. Very interesting, Alfred. Thank you for sharing that. Starmer has come in with a 112-seat majority in Parliament and has done nothing of any significance. Alfred continues to explain, for example, when it comes to boards and public appointments, we are choosing people for skill, independence, and performance, or are we recycling familiar names? Should board members have clear qualifications? Should there be term limits? Should there be performance reviews? Should conflicts of interest be clear to the public? And if a board is helping to make decisions that affect the country, should the public have a better way to judge whether that board is actually performing? Profound questions. Oh, wow. Your ticker is really working today, Alfred. How do we fix procurement without throwing away transparency? I understand why procurement rules exist. Public monies must be protected. We do not want corruption, sweetheart deals, or contracts handed to friends. But at the same time, if procurement is so slow that schools, roads, housing repairs, technology, and infrastructure take forever, then the process itself becomes part of the problem. So how do we keep fair but make it move, which is what I'm saying the system can swallow? And it's a delicate balance because remember, all politicians are corrupt. That's the stigma. So what you do, you put all of these layers of red tape and bureaucracy, the obvious separation of powers, because the only one that is capable of serious corruption is the elected arm. Yeah, so that's why there is. But then you have the tipping of the scales. I can assure you, you don't want a politician having the responsibility to write policy and do laws, that sort of stuff, running or being a part of the day-to-day operations. But we're seeing where more and more regionally, where it's beginning to look like, yes, the elected arms are really there and they're living up to the name that it makes it look as though everyone is corrupt. So does that take away from the risk, even from the civil service, from the operational arm? Or is it the same? The risks are the same. So why is the scales not a little better aligned when it comes to trying and achieving the same outcome for the betterment of the people and the good of a country? That's a bigger question. Who is more susceptible to corruption, or is it equal, both the operational arm and the elected arm? Alfred is saying, when an elected government makes a major promise, should there be one named person responsible for delivering it? For example, if a government promises affordable house, should the public know exactly who owns that promise? Which minister, which chief officer, which department? What is the timeline? What's the budget? What does success look like? And if it does not happen, who has to explain why? That is why we're having all of this. Single member constituency, I can tell you right now, has created that very same thing that you've said here, that label. Labeling as in, I got to prove that I'm capable of doing this, because guess what? If I don't deliver this by this, and I, then I'm going to be, removed. I'm going to be done, especially if you're a minister. And then it becomes, yes, a personalized branding in many cases. But we have seen that being escalated. We have seen that being inflated with single member constituencies. It's not the cabinet under my leadership as the minister. Recently, all you hear is a more I, me, when in fact, no one individual gets anything to Parliament unless there is support from your colleagues. Yeah. So that is a problem. And we have seen that been inflated even more under the single member constituencies setup, where you're hearing more I, because it's like you're saving yourself. You got to prove something to the people who are not aware or in full understanding of really how the system works. Alfred, oh my God, you need your own segment. But I love your feedback and your commentary. Please. Do we sometimes hide behind committees, consultation, reports, and reviews? Consultation is important. Nobody is saying government should make reckless decisions, but at what point does consultation become a delay? At what point we are reviewing it become a polite way of saying we are avoiding hard decision? How many studies do we need before we actually act? Damien is weighing in and saying the Cayman Islands inherit the UK's traditional political system, but in a smaller society, it often leads to slower accountability and less immediate consequences for leaders. You're quite right. You're quite, and it's not a model that is really all the time conducive for our very size. And it's not a cookie cutter thing, to be honest with you, Damien. There are some elements that is more than fitting because that would be universal, but it's not a one size fit all for sure. You're onto something there. Should we judge the government by outcomes, not announcements? Sometimes government announces a plan, a strategy, a committee, a partnership, a launch, or a framework, and it sounds impressive. But the equal question is, did rent become more affordable? Did traffic improve? Did electricity costs ease? Did students do better? Did parents wait less? Did Caymanians feel more opportunity? Did ordinary people feel any relief? Many a times these cannot be brought out in 4 years. There's always a policy. There's always some legislative or multiple government agencies that has to be consulted, and not all ministries work at the same pace. They're struggling with what we're saying, trying to operate a 21st century system under a system that was built for the 20th century. And pace has been a big issue now. Not telling you that they're not making improvements. I'd be wrong to say. Not telling you that we haven't come from far. But when you understand how the machine works, you get a better understanding of everything that you are putting out here, of why sometimes it is delayed. Many a times, you don't want to publicly say on the floor, well, I've given the money, but it's just not delivered. That's indirectly coming across like you're cursing the very same team that is there to support you. And it is a balancing act. And then what you have on your back is that the public then have their own expectations. You got the media arm coming at you. Yes. Yes, it is a fact. Because the public many a times and oftentimes feel that the expectations is that they're superheroes. And a lot of the citizens really feel that if you're a minister, you can fix it. I personally have heard it. I have heard it myself. Well, you're a minister, hogwash. That's crap. You're a premier. Make it happen. You know, you're the premier. Deliver results. But inside government, the reality is ministers set direction. Civil servants control delivery. Regulators control compliance. Statutory authorities or bodies control execution. And we're seeing where committees controls some of the approvals. Even if that is not identical how the order is, pretty much that is a synopsis of the inner workings. So what we're seeing then is that politicians, MPs, leaders, they avoid saying, boy, I gotta be honest with you, no, I can't deliver because we have funded them, but the system is just slower than I expected. I'm sorry for overpromising because I didn't understand that they lack policy, that they lack funding for implementation of systems that could deliver faster results. Because it sounds like, to the person that elected you, it sounds like weakness of that person, even though it is a 100% truth. In admitting to systemic failures, means admitting to share blame. So if a politician says, look, the system is broken, then the next question becomes, so why then you don't fix it? But systemic reform has proven to be expensive, slow, and also in many cases, politically risky. So instead, they blame previous governments, sometimes the opposition, even the good old economy, global events, and guess what is synonymous, especially in small island development states? Individual scandals, because that sells. Anything except the machinery itself. And many of you have been caught in a lot of that. Yes. Because if a minister criticizes or even make constructive criticism, the civil service or the system itself can actually slow down, possibly. Approvals take longer. Operational becomes minimal. Internal resistance increases, but you're not seeing it. And leaks appears in the media. And many politicians learn quickly. Don't fight the machine publicly, because it will fight back. Now, this is true, as we're saying, playing out as some of the main issues that are happening in our mother country. But it is also very true right here at home. And to be honest with you, it's a fact in most Westminster style systems. And when the public doesn't understand how government actually works, which is why Alfred is saying all of those things, all sound excellent ideas. Everything that he's saying is heavily operational. But when the public doesn't understand how the government actually works, this is not the public's fault. Nobody teaches it. Most people think ministers run departments. Politician makes these huge operational decisions. Government is like a business. But the truth is, ministers approve, they don't execute. Civil servants execute, they don't campaign. Statutory bodies control, they don't answer to votes. Committees can sometimes delay. Committees don't deliver. So politicians, many times, avoid explaining all of these things, which is really, really a disservice to each and every citizen. It sounds like they can execute even when it isn't the truth. Yeah, many a times saying the system is broken creates a lot of times panic, frustration. It no sense you calling him, no sense you calling her. Yeah. When many a times they're just being honest, they're telling you the truth. Yeah. Now, can you imagine if a premier or a prime minister says, look, the system is failing? You could have that impacting markets, even investors' confidence. Internal partnerships could be eroded and they can react. Credit ratings can react. The public in itself can go into a panic and a hissy fit. So leaders oftentimes speak encrypted languages. They stay silent to avoid triggering instability. And right here has the same problem. But it's amplified in many cases because we are small. And the effects is even sharper. We have a small civil service per capita. It's huge. We have heavy reliance on imported labor. That's obvious. We have high expectations from citizens, limited policy capacity. We're still seeing one of the questions asked today about noise and construction and all that sort of stuff, and there's absolutely no policy around that. We have limited policy. That's why I said that. Capacity still to this day. Of course, we talk all the time about a high cost of living, and we're seeing where we have a fast-moving global pressures with the stress trying to keep our heads above water. Yes. And what we're seeing also is that a public that wants quick results. And ultimately, a system that moves quite slowly, to be honest. So it's unfortunate that our elected politicians do face the same dilemma. Some constituents get it right, and some is a prime example of why we're facing the same 7 in 10 years in some constituencies. If I tell you the truth about the system, people will think, waste of time. I will put you there to do that. Yeah. So at the end of the day, what you're feeling is not incorrect. Your instincts is correct. It is not just the elected arm. That weight, that responsibility is shared both equally, because the elected arm is the face of government and the operational arm is the engine of government. And what we're seeing is when the engine is slow, as I said at the beginning, outdated or even overloaded, the public blames the driver. The media blames the driver. The party blames the driver. And in often cases, whoop, 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 the driver gets replaced. Many times MPs get replaced. But the engine still stays the same. And this is why we're seeing where we're having this instability and possibly a sudden change. I'm seeing a lot of these comments are coming in the last 3 minutes. Let me see how much of these I can cover. Harry is saying, but just wanted to understand its impact further. And I'm picking up, I'm just going to read these through. Alfred is saying, on paper, single member constituencies sound good. One area, one representative. People know who their MP is. The MP is closer to the community. Voters can hold that person directly accountable. But is there a downside, is the question. Have we created a system where MPs feel they have not proved themselves mainly to one small group of voters instead of thinking nationally? I hope all of these questions that you're posing here resonate with all who is with us. And if many voters do not fully understand how government works, does that put pressure on politicians to promise things they cannot personally control? For example, a voter may think that their MP can fix every road, speed up every application, solve every housing issue, get every job sorted, move every department faster, or personally change every policy. But in reality, some things are controlled by cabinet, by some by ministries, some by chief officers, some by boards, some by laws, some by, that cut off. So my question is, does the single member system force politicians to act like customer service officers for their district instead of national lawmakers? You're onto something here. And then does that make politicians focus on what is visible and immediate rather than what is structural and long-term? Because if an MP trying to keep their seat, or my seat is what you're saying, I may feel pressure to say, I got this done for my district, or I helped this person, or I fought for this road, because that is easier to show than saying, I helped. I help. Okay. Okay. Should government do more public education explaining what MPs can and cannot do? Should every MP have to explain to voters? This is what I control. This is what cabinet controlled. This is what civil service control. And this is what boards control. And this is what the law controls. Andrew's weighing in and saying, if car batteries is dead or has not charged, the car will not run. The car will not move. Who to blame? Just charge the battery. Just change the battery. Blame and criticism as to who is going to change the battery will not get anyone anywhere. I can see my messages hitting home here. Damian Henry is saying the malfunctioning of political machine can lead to power staying within a small, well-connected group, making change slower and accountability less consistent. Harry also weighs in, the government has a massive majority. They could announce reforms tomorrow, pass them within a couple of weeks, and have them implemented over the next 3 years. But they don't, because they're terrified of two things. Number one is what will get me reelected. And number two is make sure we don't scare the market so the economy doesn't go under. Ms. Ebanks, it's good to have you join us here. Well, there you have it. I managed to read, even though some of them were botched and epistles, but you could see the profound nature of the comments coming through, which I appreciate. We're going to have to continue this tomorrow because there's lots more on this that I'd like to cover to bring into your awareness. And as we continue to unpack a lot that is being here, Dean is saying capitalism. Maybe we can break down the two for you tomorrow as well. Because the biggest question then, and we're going to pick up from here, and I'll leave you with this hanger for this evening. How the future will look going forward. Do MPs continue represent out of fear of not stepping on the toes of the operational arm of government sometimes, therefore continuing to not be 100% factual to voters? Or do the people criticize, or do the people, the citizens, get educated of really how the system works and then vote for a leader, vote for a group of people willing to fix the systems once all adjusted, the dial, the level, the playing field? Yeah, because at this rate, what we're seeing is that the future will continue to decline. Problems will continue to exist. And educating the public will possibly yield for better elected persons once they put themselves up for office. Holding the operational arm accountable, holding the electoral process accountable, everyone, every single citizen, arm accountable. We got some feedback to give you on that tomorrow. So I invite you to join me tomorrow, 5 o'clock, for the continuation of this discussion. Thank you for all of your commentary. Please feel free to send them through by WhatsApp even after this live has ended, because I appreciate your feedback. Real Teresa is saying Law 101 should be taught in high school. Same time they get driver's license for their rusty car and just shy of voting. There we go. Thank you, Real Michelle, for weighing in. Please do have a good evening, and I will see you all tomorrow evening for another continuation episode of Sabrina Speaks right here on cmrtv.com and all of these social media platforms that you're streaming us on. Good night. Stay safe. Love you lots. See you tomorrow.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.